"Layla, where are you? Come here quick. I've got something for you." I pulled out the last can of tuna and pried it open with an old army knife. Somewhere deep in the apartment there was a sudden scuffle. Then a metallic clatter, something hit the floor with a bright, childish crash. Probably the tin wastebasket by my desk. Layla knocked it over all the time. She still couldn't get used to where it stood. I couldn't blame her. She could barely see even in daylight, and at night nothing at all. Years on the police force leave their fingerprints on everything. A few years back, during the arrest of a narcotics crew, somebody decided bullets were a better language than handcuffs. A stray round pierced containers of flammable chemicals. They mixed, and the whole place went up. Nobody died by miracle and sheer luck, but Layla took the blast in the face. Her eyes burned, and sight became a memory dot. After that they retired her. I took her home. I'd known her since she was a pup. Yes, Layla is my dog. For 2 years we've been trying to build a life that doesn't fall apart at the first loud noise. Not long ago, after certain mystical events I'm still not eager to relive, I quit the police, went private, and moved to another city. Now we're settling in, if you can call it settling. A wet nose bumped my knee and snapped me out of my thoughts. "Right on time," I said. I was about to eat it all myself. Her tail thumped. She stared at me with suspicion, then rose on her hind legs and barked loud, offended, theatrical. I'd already poured the tuna into her bowl and set it on the floor. All right. You know I hate fish. Here, last one. Eat up and we'll go for a walk. And we'll buy food while we're out. We still have a little money saved. Should last a couple weeks. And in that time, maybe some work will finally land in our lap." The phone rang before the last word left my mouth. An unknown number glowed on the screen. "Well," I muttered, "speaking of work." At first there was crackle and faint clicking. Then a rough male voice, soaked in alcohol, came through the speaker. "Good evening. Are you Victor? Private investigator? Good evening. Yes. How can I help? I hope you can. I need your services. It's not a simple matter. I'll do what I can." "What's the situation?" "Not over the phone. I'll give details in person. If you agree, I'll send the address. I want you here tonight. Send it. I'll come as soon as I can." He hung up without another word. A second later an SMS arrived with an address. "Not close," I told Layla. "Looks like our walk's postponed. Let's hope I'm not driving that far for another husband convinced his wife is cheating." Layla lifted her head, then let out a soft whine. She came to me, wrapped her front paws around my legs, and pressed her muzzle into my stomach the way a child clings to a parent. At the edge of a nightmare. From the outside it probably looked like she was trying to stop me, like she could smell trouble. Before it happened, "Easy," I said, scratching her head. "Everything's fine. Why the tension? We'll walk later. I promise." While I got dressed, a thin, stubborn unease kept scraping at the inside of my ribs. I told myself it was nothing. I patted Layla behind the ear and stepped out. As I turned the key in the lock, her low, aching howl followed me down the stairwell. I caught myself thinking again that I needed to find someone to watch her when I worked. Last time I'd wrapped a job in 2 days. But luck is a loan shark. Keep borrowing and it comes to collect. It was late by the time I reached the address. A 2-story mansion, old in shape if not in years. I've never liked other people's mansions. They're like people who don't know what they want. Endless corridors, heavy curtains, manufactured important something hollow shining under it all. Like glass hiding emptiness. This one looked newer than most, yet it carried the same sickness. I reached for the doorbell. Before I could touch it, the door opened by itself. I was expected. A sharp smell hit me as I stepped inside. Oak wax, damp moss, and something that belonged in a hospital. Alcohol swabs, gauze, detachment. In the foyer a short, middle-aged man met me. He answered my greeting with a careless nod and gestured for me to follow. We walked down a long, dim corridor. Instead of trophies and stuffed animals, the walls were covered with paintings, good ones, even to my untrained eye. In the main hall, above the second floor, an oval portrait glimmered in half-light. A woman's face turned slightly in profile, lips pinched into a thread, eyes looking past you as if she had posed not for the artist, but for her own shadow. On a heavy stand of blackwood, under glass, lay an enormous book with a strange symbol on its cover. I tried to make it out, but the light was too poor, and the man ahead of me opened a door and called me on. The office smelled like spilled liquor and stale smoke, overlaid with sweat. A man sat at the desk by the window, head in his hands, eyes shut, sleeping or pretending to. Our entrance didn't move him. The guard coughed politely. Nothing. The guard stepped closer and coughed again. "Boss, wake up. He's here." The man opened, eyes red and swollen from drink and sleeplessness. He stared at the guard, then at me, and stood. Up close, he wasn't a king of industry. He was a man whose life had been snapped in two and left to hang there, useless. "I'm Victor," I said. He waved me into a chair and began without preamble. "My name is Robert. I've heard about your successes. And for someone new to the business, they're impressive." His mouth twitched, not quite a smile. "Don't look at me like that. You didn't think I'd invite you into my home without checking you. I know everything that can be known. My security people are very good." He leaned forward. "Now, my daughter. A few weeks ago, she died under strange circumstances. She was staying at one of my animal farms. It happened at night. No one saw anything. No one heard anything. I buried her at the city cemetery. 3 days ago, someone dug her up and stole the body. My people went to the police. You know as well as I do how much the police care about cases like this." I nodded. "Because there are some things you don't argue with: gravity, taxes, and institutional apathy. So your task is simple," Robert continued, voice flat. "Find who did it. Find my daughter. If you accept, I'll transfer in advance. We'll discuss the full sum later." I took a breath and tried on a friendly expression, the way a man tries on a coat he already knows. Doesn't fit. I didn't like him. Not even a little. I could sympathize with grief in the abstract, but there was something about him cold, repellent, like a hand that's been washed too many times. And the job itself didn't help. Hunting a grave robber, then searching for a corpse already turning into chemical truth. There are easier ways to ruin your appetite for living. Robert saw the hesitation and named a number, even. The advance made my eyes light up like a thief's. The full fee knocked the words out of my mouth entirely. I got home well after midnight. Layla lay on her mat by the door. As always, nose pointed into the dark. She heard me from half a building away. An ear twitched, her head lifted, her tail began to wag. Her eyes were pale as marble, but in that stone lived a very specific kind of joy, warm, uncomplicated, loyal. "Well, girl," I said, kneeling. "Looks like we need to earn kibble again." She pressed her muzzle into my palm and inhaled. She saw with scent. I hugged her, forehead to forehead. The warmth in her body loosened the tight place in my chest, like someone had cracked a window in my ribs, and I knew I was about to nail it shut. "I'll be gone overnight. 2 nights, max. You'll stay with Mr. J. He likes you, he just refuses to admit it. He grumbles, that's his version of affection." I packed fast. I'm not picky in the field, and I needed sleep. Something in me had already decided this case would not come cheaply. "Did you forget anything?" The voice in my head arrived without warning. Smug as always. "No. You sure? We had an agreement," I thought. "No surprise entrances. Fine. Next time I'll imitate a little bell first." "Better stop being ridiculous," I muttered under my breath. "You're a 1,000-year-old spirit and you behave like a child. That's the best part of eternity. Victor, you can stay a child forever." I rolled my eyes. Yufar could drive me insane without lifting a finger. He laughed theatrically at the thought and sank back into the depth of my mind. Layla watched me from the corner, hind legs coiled, front paws spread as if she meant to launch at something invisible. The fur along her spine bristled. Animals always reacted to Yufar that way. Layla didn't bark, didn't snap, whether because she understood it was still me, or because she couldn't see where to aim. I couldn't say. The next day, after I dropped Layla with my neighbor and handled the basics, I began the job where it should begin, the violated grave. At the cemetery, I found a groundskeeper and introduced myself. He didn't like the reason for my visit. He muttered about confidentiality, about the police investigating, about trouble if he talked. I expressed my interest in a more financial language. His principles dissolved instantly. He refused to escort me to the grave, though, and brought me instead to a cramped back room full of tools, half storage, half kitchen. He brewed us coffee, pulled a flask from his pocket, and poured some into his mug for the nerves. He said, catching my look, "Want some?" I shook my head. He sighed, took a swallow, and began, "They didn't bury her in the family crypt. Don't know why. No relatives came. People talk, say there's something dirty about that family." I thought it was gossip, but when we carried the coffin, there was a sound from inside, soft like a snake's scales sliding through sand. He gave a tired, sad smile. No, it wasn't my imagination. Everyone close enough heard it. Someone even said maybe a snake somehow got inside and was slithering around looking for a way out. That idea calmed us down a little. One guy cracked a crude joke about where a snake might hide during the service. We laughed because people will laugh at anything rather than admit fear. He went quiet for a moment. "You didn't open it?" I asked, not aloud. And the coffin was sealed, welded shut. That was strange too. Usually they use clamps or bolts. This one was sealed all the way around. But it got worse. When we lowered it into the ground, I swear to God it moved, like someone shifted inside. And then there was a little giggle. We jumped back from the grave and just stood there, staring, for 5 minutes. He rubbed his face with his palm. Protocol says we should open it. But with it sealed, we called the office. The boss said we were drunk and told us to bury it and go sleep it off, because she died from injuries incompatible with life. The groundskeeper snorted. We argued. He cursed us out. Finally, he gave permission. It took half an hour to open it, and the whole time silence. When we got it open, there was only the corpse. No snake, no sign of anything moving. Just dark stains on her clothes. The boss told us to close it and bury it fast, and to keep our mouths shut. He exhaled hard and finished his coffee like it was medicine. He pointed me in the right direction and refused to go with me. He looked genuinely afraid of that patch of ground, and fear, in my experience, is rarely invented from nothing. Yufar spoke in my head as I walked. You shouldn't dismiss him, because you're suddenly a fan of cemetery gossip, because it fits. This sounds like one of ours meaning a visitor from the other side. I almost argued, but the cemetery ahead changed my mind. Police tape partitioned off a section like a wound bandage to late. We're here, Yufar murmured. This place reeks of the other world. Be careful. I stepped forward anyway and felt something move beneath my boots. I looked down, nothing but dead grass and leaves. Then I noticed the plants all around, brittle, gray, drained within a few meters of the grave. In the middle of July. What is that? I asked. Why is everything dead? Their aura, Yufar said. It drinks life. Where does it go? There are ancient things on the other side to bound to their own world to cross. Their world is dying. To keep their illusion of life, they send weaker creatures through. Parasites. They feed on living force here, then crawl back and regurgitate it to their masters. And the dead? Why steal corpses? I don't know. We'll find out or die trying. The grave itself was torn apart. And the soil god, the soil. It lay in dense slabs, like broken concrete rather than earth. I've never seen ground like this. I muttered. It's like someone glued the dirt together. It means we leave, Yufar said sharply. The grave robber won't come back. It's getting dark. Cemeteries are not for night walks. His voice, normally arrogant, amused, had a new edge, uneasy. Afraid, Yufar, afraid. That was a bad sign in any language. I took one last look, eager for anything the police might have missed, and saw something dull glinting in nearby bushes. I crouched and picked it up. A small silver pendant, an 8-pointed star ringed by a snake biting its own tail, and at the center a cross turned upside down. Interesting, I said. Looks like a cult symbol. Ever seen anything like it? Not sure. But you're right, a cult. And we should be gone. Now I pocketed the pendant and headed for the gate fast. By the time I reached my car, it was nearly dark. And all the way there I felt a cold attention following me, watching from somewhere between the trees and the thin places in the air. I dared to turn. Don't. Yufar's warning snapped like a leash. They're still watching. If they think you saw them, they won't let you go. Who are they? Those who couldn't accept their end. Get in the car. We leave. Quickly. I did as I was told, started the engine, and drove without looking back, heading to the farm that late would have been stupidity wrapped in optimism. My nerves were drawn tight enough to play a melody. and I barely made it to the nearest motel. I ate, showered, lay down in clean sheets. Certain sleep would knock me out. It didn't. Thoughts stormed my skull like a tornado. No. The gate hasn't fallen yet, Ufar said, reading me. How that creature got here, I don't know. You need to sleep. Tomorrow will be long. Stop thinking. Stop thinking has the same effect as calm down when you're furious, I muttered. Did you know that? Sleep, Ufar said. A low hum filled my head. A pleasant heaviness settled into my limbs. My eyes shut on their own. I dreamed of my apartment. I stood in the hallway. Layla ran out of the room and tucked behind my legs, staring into the kitchen, panting, afraid. What is it? I asked. Another weird smell? She kept staring at one point, breathing hard, whining softly. I pushed the kitchen door open and looked in. She was sitting at my table. Emily, the dead girl I'd been hired to find. For a few seconds I couldn't understand how it was possible. I'd memorized her face from photographs, young, beautiful, innocent dimples in her cheeks, clean lines, and now she sat in my kitchen, calm as an evening guest, looking at me with huge black eyes bruised by dark circles. She gestured for me to come in, twirling a dark curl of hair around her finger. Emily, I said, voice thick with disbelief. What are you doing here? You're dead. Yes, she said softly. Unfortunately, I became a victim of circumstances I couldn't survive. I came to warn you. Don't go into the cursed forest. It's dangerous. Only death waits for you there. What are you talking about? Your father said you died. At the mention of her father, she froze. Her eyes widened, then dulled. She lowered her head, and then I heard it quiet, steady, wrong in a dream, the sound of a heart beating. I stood there stupidly, like anyone who can't steer their own dreams. I didn't know what to do. Then the curl of hair she'd been twisting tore itself free and drifted to the floor. Emily watched it fall without expression. Her skin began to darken, cracking like bark. It slid off her body like wet ash. She raised her head, her mouth twisted, lips splitting into a hateful smile. And then she screamed and lunged at me with arms outstretched. I stumbled backward, hit the door with my spine and woke up. My head felt like it had been used as a football and played through all 4 quarters, plus overtime. My temples were in a vice. My mouth was so dry it felt like I'd been licking rock salt all night. In the air lingered a faint trace of women's perfume. When I tried to move, pain flared in my hand. I opened my fist. The pendant was there pressed into my palm so hard it had cut deep. Blood seeped from the wound and had started to clot, smearing the silver. The symbol stamped itself into my skin like a brand. I stared at it. Then a colder thought hit me, and I sprang from the bed. How had the pendant gotten into my hand? How had it gotten into the room? I was certain I'd left it in my car. Had I sleepwalked? No, Ufar said. You didn't get up. I would have woken you. It appeared in your hand right before the dream. You put me to sleep. I calmed your mind. The rest your body did on its own. I took the pendant between the fingers like it might bite and shoved it into my bag. I washed the blood off, drank water, looked at the mark again. It didn't fade overnight. If anything, the edges grew sharper. The skin around it reddened, swollen as if burned. I tried rinsing it. Then alcohol wipes. Nothing helped. At least it made me feel like I'd done something besides panic. After breakfast and a full tank, I drove 50 kilometers out to the farm, fields, forest, and more farms and open landscape that somehow managed to feel claustrophobic. I found the manager first. When he heard why I was there, the friendly mask slid off his face. He tried hard not to look at me. His shoulders twitched, pupils wide, voice low, clipped, as if every extra word might hang him. No point squeezing a dry sponge. I asked who had found Emily's body. Miller, the manager said, pointing. A short, middle-aged man was walking beside an enormous black bull, holding it by one horn. The beast didn't resist. It moved like a tired dog, head down, breathing heavy. I stopped a safe distance away and called out, Mr. Miller, good afternoon. He snapped his head up, squinting. I'm Victor, private investigator. I'm looking into Emily's death. They said you found her. I need to ask you a few questions. What about? Miller spat the words. The bitch is dead. What's left to talk about? Her body was stolen. I'm trying to find who did it. Your help would matter. Stolen? Miller frowned. Who needs a dead girl? That's what I'm trying to find out. Could you tie the bull up or take him away?" Miller looked at me, then at the animal, and smiled. He released the horn. "Don't be scared. He won't hurt you. Lately he's more like a puppy than a bull." Then his smile curdled. "That's because of her. She did something to him. To the other animals too." "How?" "Since she came back, the animals went mad. Broke stalls. Smashed their heads into boards until they bled. And after she died, you see, they act like they saw the devil. They're afraid. They only move if someone's beside them. They're scared of darkness. We've got 2,000 head of cattle." Listen. I listened and realized the farm was wrong in a way my brain hadn't registered yet. No lowing, no stamping, no restless noises of animals, only humans talking and machines. "Did anyone tell her father?" I asked. "That man?" Miller's lip curled. "He never came. I called. They told me, 'Do your job.' So I did. And then this morning, screams, howling, the stables like they exploded from inside. And then silence. I was on night watch, got there first. And there she was." His hands trembled. "A nightmare. Explain." "Girl by the well. And next to her, her heart." His voice dropped. "Her heart. On the ground. Knife in her hand. Blood everywhere. You can't unsee that." The cops came, walked around all day, asked questions, found nothing. Then the case got closed. Suicide. They wrote her up so they wouldn't have to deal. He swallowed. "Even Benny would know that's impossible. A person can't cut their own heart out." But her father accepted the conclusion. Funny, isn't it, that he's moving now? Did he investigate her death at all? Not a chance. He'd do anything to keep things quiet. "And you didn't like her," I said carefully. Miller bristled. "You implying I killed her?" "I didn't say that. I'm trying to understand who might have wanted her dead and who might dig her up." Miller exhaled, anger sliding into something older. "I didn't like what she became. But I didn't kill her. I remember her as a little girl. She and Benny always underfoot, trying to help. She loved horses. Thought foals were ponies. Then she left for a couple years. Came back. Like something crawled into her and put her eyes on." "Benny?" I asked. "Who's Benny?" "Local kid. Strange like Emily. Don't know how they met. She dragged him here. Then he started coming on his own near every day. When he got older, we hired him. Felt sorry for him. He's slow, but he's hardworking. And animals love him. Could Benny be involved?" "Absolutely not. He's harmless. Cries when we brand cattle. Killing someone? No." "Where can I find him?" "Stables. Red brick building. You'll recognize him," Miller said with a crooked smile. The stables were on the far edge of the farm. Behind them an enormous paddock. Empty. No animals roaming free. That alone unsettled me. Inside, the smell of fresh hay and sharp herbs filled my lungs. From the stalls came nervous snorts and hooves tapping wood. The horses sensed you far. Animals always did. Somewhere deeper inside, a soft singing drifted. I followed it and found a scene that didn't belong on any normal farm. A young man sitting on the floor of a feed room, and around him several horses lay down like dogs. He sang and stroked their heads, feeding them from his hands. They barely noticed me approach. Then one horse lifted its head, shuddered, and everything snapped. The young man spun, yelped, tried to scramble back, tripped, fell. The horses surged to their feet and reared up, forming a wall between him and me like a living barricade. I backed toward the door and spoke loudly, calmly. "It's okay. I'm Victor, private investigator. I'm not here to hurt anyone." The young man stared, not understanding. Then comprehension flickered and he raised his hands, whispering to the horses. They settled, still tense, and stepped aside. "Thanks," I said. "I thought they were going to trample me." "Sorry," he whispered. "They got scared. They don't like your friend." "My friend?" "You," he said seriously, "have someone with you. I can feel him. You can't hide him." I went still. "You can sense him?" "I can't see him," Benny said. "But I feel him. He doesn't tell you to do bad things, does he?" "No," I said carefully. "He's mostly friendly." Benny's face tightened. "Emily had a friend too." He screamed in her head. He cried and begged her to do terrible things. I wanted to help her, but she wouldn't let me. He made her hurt me and hurt others. He was bad. She went away from him to the better world. Tell me, I said. Where did it start? Where did she find him? In the forest, Benny whispered. That forest is bad. There are monsters. Emily shouldn't have gone with Derek. But Derek was nice, she said. He asked her to walk. She wanted a friend so much she couldn't say no. She went. And in the morning she came back different. When she came back, the friend was already with her. Yes, she said he talked to her. Said he'd help her. Said he'd give her everything she wanted. He lied. Benny's last word came out like broken glass. Then his voice softened again, uneven, stuttering. It was him. Emily was good. She wouldn't have done those things. Did they kill her? I asked. No, Benny said, and his eyes filled with terror. She did it herself. She wanted me to help her be free. It can't stay whole. She begged me, but I got scared. It was so scary to look at her. I ran, and it stayed alive. She begged me to stop it, and I got scared. I'm a bad friend, and now she'll come back and punish me. What stayed alive? I demanded. Benny's words poured out faster, messier. I can't say. I promised. Nobody can know. It's still alive. If it's alive, nobody should know. He was spiraling, repeating himself, trapped in his own loop. It sounded like madness until he remembered he'd sensed Yufar without seeing him. Yufar spoke, low and urgent. We're done here. I tried a few more questions. Benny didn't hear them. He rocked and repeated the same phrases, as if speaking them kept something from stepping through his skin. Outside, twilight crept over the farm. I questioned more workers. The answers were rehearsed. Emily was normal. Then she changed. Animals feared her. Everyone felt uneasy. The real answers were in the forest. And I hated that fact even as I accepted it. When night fell, I asked the manager for a room. He arranged it, while I carried my bag inside. He asked how things were going. He seemed disappointed when I said I'd learned nothing solid. But when I mentioned I intended to go into the forest in the morning, his eyes brightened to bright. He suggested I visit a local lake, saying Emily used to spend free time there. Beautiful view. He said that. I thanked him. That night in bed, I turned the manager over in my thoughts like a suspicious coin. Why the sudden interest? Why the enthusiasm? Yufar hissed in my mind that it's not curiosity. He's hiding something. And he was glad when you said forest. Like he wants us there. I was going anyway, I muttered. He looked scared. Not dangerous. You were a cop, Victor. And you still don't read people. And you're an ancient spirit. I shot back. And you still don't help until the knife is already in my throat. I help when it's necessary. Yufar said. And now I'll help you sleep. I dropped into darkness like a stone. Morning came. I packed what I needed and entered the forest. At first it looked ordinary trees. Shade, nothing cinematic. What did you expect? Witches on broomsticks. Yufar teased. Priests with holy water. I thought back. Who'll kick you out? Rude. We traded barbs as I went deeper. Then the air changed tight, electric, like the minute before a storm. Forest sounds faded. Light dimmed. The shadows thickened as if the world had decided to hold its breath. Time stopped making sense. After what might have been 20 minutes or an hour, I reached an old, dead tree, barkless, bleached. Red paint symbols were drawn on its trunk, neat and deliberate. Familiar, I thought. More than familiar. This is getting interesting. A quiet laugh sounded behind me, and something small and fast slipped into the brush, moving deeper into the trees. I ran after it. As I ran, I heard a whisper, scaly, dry, like snake skin on cloth, and beneath that, a child's voice, giggling. 10 minutes later, I stumbled into a clearing and saw a house. Not a house, an accusation. Its walls were built from thick logs bound with animal hides and horns. The roof was drowned in moss and vines, sagging in places. A witch's house out of a storybook, but older. Meaner. No sign of the creature. I peered through a window, too dark to see much, except broken furniture and a tree growing right through the floor. My instincts screamed to leave. My profession insisted this was where the answers lived. I opened the door and stepped inside before I could change my mind. The floor was covered in glowing symbols, like paint that drank light. The same symbols as on the dead tree. Outside, I drew my pistol and moved forward. Whisper slid across the back of my neck. The door slammed shut. The only light vanished. Something scuttled behind me, fast footsteps. That dry shusher of scales. I turned, a blow smashed into my skull. Darkness took me. When I woke, pain was the first thing I knew. I tried to reach my head and found my wrists bound. I cracked my eyes open. People in dark robes stood with their backs to me around a large fire. We weren't in the cabin anymore. The space felt like a cave, wet stone, herbs, smoke. Glowing symbols crawled along the walls and ceiling. At the far end stood an altar. An altar I recognized, but the sphere that once sat atop it, a pale, humming light, was missing. Yufar, I whispered in my head. Do you see this? Please tell me I'm imagining it. No answer. You there? Nothing. I didn't just miss the voice. I felt a hollow space open inside me, as if something essential had been ripped out. Panic rose like floodwater. I must have moved noisily, because one of the robed figures turned and walked toward me. I see you're awake, a man said pleasantly. I was starting to worry I'd hit you too hard, but you're tougher than you look. That's good. The voice stabbed recognition through my fear. Robert. Emily, single quotes, S father. My client. Robert. I hissed. What the hell is this? Why am I tied up? Yes, my dear friend, it's me. He smiled as if we were sharing a drink, not a crime. What's happening? I suspect you've already guessed. We tied you so you wouldn't ruin things by playing hero. Reunite with your daughter. I spat. She's dead. She never really died, Robert said, eyes bright with devotion and drink. She tried. The foolish girl tried very hard. But don't worry. You played your part flawlessly, he began to explain. 30 years ago, he'd been a sawmill worker. One night he found the cabin above us and went in. The floor collapsed. He woke in the cave, surrounded by bones. There was an altar, a sphere glowing with a voice inside. It showed him truth, offered him help in exchange for small services. Gods from another world. He got wealth, power. He gave them people who got in the way. Then the masters wanted a vessel. They chose his daughter. An honor, he said, as if spitting on her humanity was a medal. But then years later my past collided with theirs. I had destroyed the gate on a previous case. I had broken the altar and released a guardian. The sacrifices could no longer cross. A whole starving world, he said, because of me. Emily's messenger began losing control of her body when the connection weakened. In one moment of freedom, she cut her own heart out, planning to have someone destroy it entirely. But her helper panicked, failed. Now Robert needed the guardian back, and he'd lured me here to bring it. And now, Robert said softly, we'll open the way again. And you will be the first offering. I twisted my head, searching, and in the firelight I saw it. The sphere, dull and cracked, lying near the altar. Yufar was trapped in it. Robert followed my gaze and smiled. He walked back to his followers, returned with 2 men. They lifted me and carried me to a stone slab. It was warm. It vibrated faintly beneath my back, like a living animal pretending to be rock. Robert drew a huge knife. I strained against the ropes, not hoping to escape, only to ruin their rhythm. The cultists whispered in a language that scraped my hearing. Then they fell silent as one. Robert raised the knife over my head. So this is it, I thought. And then my shirt pocket burned. Something twisted against my skin with the heat of a coal. It moved, no one noticed. The thing tore through fabric, hovered for a heartbeat, then shot across the cave like a thrown star straight into the sphere. It struck. The sphere shattered. For one frozen second, nobody understood. Then a pale, furious spirit erupted from the fragments. Ufar. He wasn't amused anymore. He hurled curses and moved with lightning cold pouring through the air. Robert snatched up the dropped knife, lunged to finish what he'd started. I tore my wrists free. Rope snapped, hand caught the blade. I threw it. It sank into a cultist trying to run. Good to be home, Yufar said inside my skull. I hope you won't mind if I take control. Before I could answer, the world went black. I came to upstairs, in the cabin, sitting on dust-choked boards. Emily's body lay nearby. In her hand a round pendant glimmered, the 8-pointed star. How did she get here? I croaked. Is she alive? No, Yufar said. She's dead. But if not for her, you would be. I brought her here. She deserves a proper burial. What happened down there? How did you get free? Emily helped us. Emily? You just said she's dead. Technically, yes. Life has long left her body. But when they performed the ritual, the part of her soul the creature needed was stored in the medallion. Benny was right. While the heart lives, the thing that moved in her lives and in the same breath, so does she. Yufar explained. Sometimes Emily regained control and watched what the creature did with her hands, seducing her father's rivals, blackmailing them with photographs, worse things. When the gate was broken, the creature's hold weakened. Robert sent her here to be watched. Then Emily acted. She convinced Benny to help, cut her heart out, begged him to destroy it. He couldn't. She was stronger than they thought. She tried to warn us. When it didn't work, she waited like a patient ghost until the right moment. And then she did what even many living people wouldn't dare. Where is the heart now? I asked. Where do you think? Yufar said. I destroyed it. Her soul can finally be free. I looked at Emily. If I hadn't known she was dead, I could have sworn she was sleeping, peaceful, almost smiling. Come on, I said quietly. Let's find her a good place. I lifted her carefully and carried her into the forest. I didn't know where I was going. I only knew I was going correctly. After about an hour we reached a low mountain. Water ran down its side into a small waterfall, and at the foot of it lay a wild lake. I sat on a fallen tree and looked at the view. What do you think, Yufar? Not Badder agreed. She would have chosen this if she could. You feel it too? I asked, like someone led us here. Yufar didn't answer. Maybe he was watching the water. Maybe he'd done what he often did, left without saying goodbye. While I dug, thoughts came like strangers. One stayed. What makes a person a person? A brain, its sharp intelligence? Or a heart where the human soul is kept? When I finished, afternoon was already deep. I returned to the farm, said nothing, packed my things. Before I left, I found Benny and told him where Emily rested. Benny's face lit up. He said it had been her favorite place as a child, a secret place she hid from adults. And only Benny had known it. He promised he'd care for her, visit every day. I drove away. Not long after, newspapers reported Robert's company went bankrupt and was bought by some businessman. There wasn't a single line about Robert or his cult. Some disappearances don't even deserve ink.